no idea of the bills and things that my parents had to pay. Yeah, I definitely would have appreciated that, I think, more growing up, so that I could budget and learn, I think, a little bit quicker when I became an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as the entrepreneurs that you've worked with or business owners, since you work with the business strategies, what have you found to be some of the most common reasons that those businesses or the entrepreneurs are either failing or giving up in their business?
Let's see. They're doers. They do, and they just hit the ground and take action. And that's not enough. That's not everything that comes into it. Sure. You can make money. And I think a lot of people think, I'm making money or I have a profit, so things are going well. But, something major can happen. They could lose a key employee or, sure, lose a big account, and they don't have like a fallback plan or a strategy, or even something horrible like, the business owner could, have to be out of work or want to go on vacation, and not be having a fallback or having a plan or having, SOPs, like standard
sure,
operating procedure documents. I think that sometimes people feel like, okay, I'm plateaued, I'm making money, this is cool. But they struggle to figure out, okay, well, how do I level up? How do I get to the next step? How do I stop working in my business and start working on it to get to the
right,
next figure?
Right. Yeah, and part of what you were mentioning there, the business succession ideas or the key person ideas, is something that so many business owners aren't thinking about in the beginning. That maybe at year 5 or year 10, they start thinking about it because at that point it's like, okay, well, I've been in business long enough. But what they don't realize is that actually about 40% of businesses are going to liquidate because they've not done that ahead of time. And so, it's a very serious conversation to have, when you're forming your business, and then as soon as possible, getting someone such as yourself to go in and look at the strategies that are going on, and then also to get a business finance person to come in and talk to you about that key man strategy to make sure that your key employees are going to be taken care of. And then if the something happens that you mentioned, then if the unthinkable comes along, then you do have a contingency plan, because if you don't plan, the saying goes, failure to plan is planning to fail. And so that really will be very true, if those unthinkables happen.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
What are some of the roadblocks that you had discovered in building your business that you would encourage people to watch out for?
Well, we talked about, lying to ourselves, not having, not thinking we have enough time, or there's not enough hours
Sure.
in the day to accomplish what I need to. And for me, it was my kids. I had to trust the care of them to someone else for a couple of days a week, because I was trying to do everything myself and lying to myself, and I'm just feeling really overwhelmed. But really, I just had to allocate my time differently and appropriately. And part of that was letting go, allowing someone else to come in my home and watch my kids for a day or a couple of days a week. But I think we also, on top of that, we get in our own way. We self-sabotage a lot, a mindset thing. We're afraid of success sometimes. We're afraid of growth. We're afraid to embrace the scary and unknown and get uncomfortable. I feel like most of the roadblocks happen internally.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's certainly something that we can avoid when we have the correct mentorship and the correct coaching that's involved. Because so many people think, well, I'm just starting out. I can't afford to have a good business coach, or I can't afford a good business strategist to come in and talk to me. Yeah, that's probably the furthest thing from the truth. Just as I hear people say, I don't have the money to invest. It's like, well, you don't have the money to invest because you haven't talked to somebody about investing. They're putting the cart before the horse, and they need to kind of reorder those things because that head trash has gotten in their way. They're getting in their own way of saying, I'm not ready for that. But in fact, if you do those sacrificing to bring in that person, you're going to level up so much faster. And then you're going to be able to afford to pay that person even more to help you because you're making even more.
Yes. I mean, it's like, for me, I do have a coach and I do have a mentor. So I was strictly offline until about the first of this year. So I was doing everything on my own. I didn't have a network. I was just, relying on, local traffic and clients. And then I came online and my mind was blown. I had so many more people and resources at my fingertips. And the first thing that I invested in was a course, and then ultimately a coach, because I needed clarity and I needed support. And I knew that I couldn't get where I wanted to be on my own, and I had to pay someone and find a mentor that could help get me there.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to the next question of, what are some of the supporting resources to look for? And, we kind of touched on mentors as being a big one, and coaches. I've also found SCORE is a good one for people to look for, and Small Business Administration. But what are some of the ones that you recommend out to people when you're working with them and you're strategizing for them?
Well, first of all, I mean, depending on the size of their business, some people just need to let go and hire. Some people just need to allow an online business manager or a product manager or even a VA to come into their business. I use the analogy of your business is your baby, and you are sometimes afraid to let someone hold your baby because you're afraid they're going to drop your baby. But if you find the right person and train them, then your baby is safe in their arms, and it's okay to let go and allow that to happen. So sometimes it just takes, trusting in other people. But I mean, ultimately, knowing where you want to go and having those goals in mind and investing in yourself and your craft is really important. I knew that I needed some content help. I needed to find my voice and figure out how to put that into the world because I was struggling coming from corporate America to me. So I invested in a content coach, which she turned into be my mentor because, I mean, I was along the same path and we connected so incredibly well. So coaching, mentor, and even hiring, letting people in your business.
Yeah, and it's good that you're mentioning that part of it because with so many businesses, and I've been guilty of this from day one of when I started my practice. Is all of my listeners have heard me say probably 100 times now that I'm kind of a controlling person. I don't like taking my hands off the wheel. I like to drive the bus, and it's hard for me to let somebody else come in and do their part. But at the same time, I'm not a jack of all trades, and I shouldn't be. I'm good at an isolated number of things. And so all of those other skills, I should be bringing somebody else in to do those things because it's costing me money if I do it myself. It's costing my customers if I'm doing it myself. And so, things like, say web design or marketing, advertising, all of those other things, I'm not good at those things. So I need to bring somebody else in to take care of it. And, let them do what they're good at. And I stay focused on what I'm good at.
Well, and that's what's nice about being authentic and putting that into the world and attracting the right network or tribe of people that you surround yourself with. Because you build the trust with them. And if you need help with someone and you don't know someone that specializes in that particular craft or skill, you can ask for referrals, and they will be trusted, legitimate referrals of people that can help you. So again, that's one of the biggest things that has allowed my business to grow and even personally to grow is making sure I'm surrounding myself with the right people because ultimately they care about me and support me and will, do whatever they can to help me grow.
Sure. And it's also, by having that large network adds so much value to our client relationships because they will in turn be asking, do you know somebody that does, fill in the blank? And then when you have that extensive network, you're able to give someone who is trustworthy and someone that you will put your reputation on the line to refer because ultimately that is what you're doing. That is what you're doing.
Yeah,
is you're putting your name and your brand on the line by referring. So And having a good network, is so huge. It's so huge. Now, as far as personal values, how do you incorporate that into your work to give, as it were, a unique flavor to what you do?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, of course, I embrace my authenticity. So that's something that I hold to me. Be you, be yourself, and share that with the world. But also, I mean, I guess really my biggest value, something that I think my kids hear me say it a million times a day, is be kind. Be kind to other humans, no matter if they're like you or if they think like you or, have completely different views than you. We have kindness and we can love people and be kind to them, and respect them and not judge them. Yeah, no judgment, be kind, love others, no matter what. Those are my big three.
Those are good ones. Is there something that you wish you had done earlier in life that you did not do that later on you're kind of looking back and saying, I kind of wish I'd have done that?
Yeah. So I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years before I started my business. And I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have kicked myself and pushed myself to actually realize that this is what my passion is and this is what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help people. So I feel like I wasted a little bit of time doing that. However, I did grow a lot as a person in those, few years, which I think ultimately helped me kind of hit the ground running and be a little bit more successful than just like starting off. Yeah, really, that's the only thing so far. I mean, my business is only about 1.5 years old, so I'm sure there's some other regrettable things that may happen in the future. I am a big failure happens, and it's okay, and it makes us bigger, stronger, and better humans, and we grow from it. So I know that that's going to happen, and I'm okay with it because ultimately it'll propel me into forward progress.
Yeah, and I like that you're mentioning, failure happens. Charge in, embrace it, embrace the failure because we grow from failure. We don't grow from success. And so, charge in and let those failures happen and learn from them. That's the important part. Learn from the failures. But then also, if you have mentors that have failed before, learn from theirs too, because the best kind of learning experience is somebody else's failure. It doesn't hurt so bad. So, a little 2 cents there.
I love it. No, I definitely agree. And another thing, I was just talking about this the other day, is accepting accountability for your failures or for your, you're falling short of things. And that's one thing I feel like a lot of people miss. If you don't accept accountability and, apologize and move on, then, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, it's just going to, tarnish your skill set or even your reputation. So accountability is a huge value that I hold, and that I hold the people that I work with too.
Yeah, and it's really giving yourself a disservice because you're offending yourself by not accepting and admitting, that stumble that you had. It's doing yourself a disservice by not owning it, because then you have to repeat that mistake later. And it's like they say, something happens first, shame on you. Happens twice, shame on me. It's the same thing in having those failures. Is if you do the same thing twice, that's not a good thing. It doesn't show good on you. Learn from it, be accountable for it, and accept it, admit it, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were starting up your business, what were some of the hurdles that you faced personally that you had to overcome in starting that? Being a young mother with young children, I'm sure there were some hurdles there. Tell me about those.
Yes. Well, I actually, I had my first client before I started my business. Kind of happened a little backwards. I was getting massage, and I realized that the masseuse was a singlepreneur, a solopreneur. He didn't have any help, and he could have been growing and better than he was. And so I literally had like a sales conversation with him at the end of my appointment before